Alright, BobalosRex here. And we're talking Evoker today. So this is going to be one of the first looks or first impressions of Evoker in the War Within, how it looks, how the hero talents look, and a little bit of how they play. Because I'm not the high end, I'm not the biggest freaking math nerd. I'm not gonna crunch all the numbers and be like, this one is the best, this one's that. No, this is a feedback video about how it looks, what I think they should do better, and a little bit of how it plays. And I am gonna be reading through all of the tier sets and the hero talents. All right. And there were a couple Evoker changes. You'll notice a couple of changes if you're a Dragon main, but it's good ones, like a couple of good choice notes. And here's the new talent tree, or the spell book. So, let's start this off with Scale Commander Devastation. So I'm going to go through Scale Commander and Devastation, and I'm going to switch to Flame Shaper. Then I'm going to go through the next spec. But first, let's read the tier set. That's how I'm going to do it. So, Disintegrate damage increased by 10%. Fire damage increased by... Fire damage increased by 10%. Alright. Cool. Eternity Surge cooldown is decreased by 5 seconds and now grants Essence Burst. Interesting. It uses a empowered ability, but it also gives Essence Burst, which actually works with both trees a little bit. But now let's get into Scale Command. So, Scale Commanders are natural-born leaders capable of inspiring those around them to become better. They are chosen generals of the Drakthir and use their empowered spells to send battle commands and summon troops. So, when I think of this, I think of Emberthal. So, let's read through these abilities. And then I'll talk about how it plays and stuff. So, Mass Disintegrate. Empowered spells cause your next Disintegrate to strike up 3 targets. When striking less than 3 targets, Disintegrate's damage is increased by 25% for each missing target. You see an AoE and a single target benefit here. Because it seems like they don't want these to become an AoE spec and a single target spec. That's not what they're aiming at. The talent trees give you that option, so I just want to make that clear. Alright, then we got Might of the Black Dragonflight. Black spells deal 20% increased damage, okay? So that's your eruptions, and you know what's interesting for Devastation is it's only Deep Breath. Okay, it's only Deep Breath that gets buffed. Alright? But for Og, it does more spells. So that is an interesting thing about Scale Commander. It may not fit for Devastation as much, but we'll see. Then we got Bombardments. Mass Disintegrate marks your primary target for destruction for the next 10 seconds. You and your allies have a chance to trigger Bombardment. Remember this for later. When attacking marked targets, dealing volcanic damage split among all nearby enemies. And it says you and your allies when you have someone marked. Alright. And that's when you hit a Disintegrate. So what you would do so far, and I'll talk about it at the end. Alright, Onslaught. Entering combat grants a charge of Burnout, causing your next living flame to cast instantly. So that's a good benefit to the start of combat. Melt Armor. Deep Breath causes enemies to take 20% increased damage from bombardments and essence abilities for 12 seconds. Alright, again, playing with the Deep Breath. The one Black Dragon spell Devastation use. Wing Leader. Bombardments reduce the cooldown of Deep Breath by 1 second for each target struck up to 3 seconds. So, you're hitting 3 targets with your bombardments. Remember, allies can trigger this. It's reducing your Deep Breath. Then we got Unrelenting Siege. For each second you are in combat, Azure Strike and Living Flame deal 1% increased damage up to 50%. So this kind of incentivizes you to sit on your Living Flame so you can get that benefit each time you hit it. So this one has you use Living Flame more often. This one does not. And that's kind of the same for Og, we'll see later. Alright, then we got a choice node here. We got Hardened Scales. Obsidian Scales reduce the damage taken by an additional 5%. Or Menacing Presence. Knocking enemies up or backwards reduces their damage done to you by 15% for 8 seconds. Well, we're not a tank. We're going to be using Obsidian Scales. So we just get a little bit extra benefit when we use the defense. Now we got another choice node. Extended Battle. Essence abilities extend bombardments by 1 second. Okay, so that's your Essence abilities extend this timer. Or bombardments have a chance to grant Essence Bursts. Alright. Maybe that one's going to be better, actually. Alright, then we got Nimble, another choice node. So all 3 choice nodes right here at the bottom. Easy peasy. Nimble Flyer. While hovering, damage taken from area effects attacks is reduced by 10%, so it makes your hovering a slight defensive. And then Slipstream. Deep Breath resets the cooldown of hover, so it just helps you reposition. Alright, and then the final, Maneuverability. Deep Breath can now be steered in your desired direction. In addition, Deep Breath burns targets for volcanic damage over 12 seconds. So, what does Scale Commander Devastation look like and play like? Well, as you saw, you do buff some people. But you really don't have a lot of buffs yourself compared to the other spec that benefits. But what it does do is it gives you the steerable Deep Breath, and this is going to be for bolt. So the way Deep Breath works for a Scale Commander is you hit it, and then you just do whatever. Look at that. Alright? And then, like I said, for Devastation, not all these spells are getting buffed compared to, like, Og. But then you mark something, and then... Did you see that? So, now I have that mark, and I have a chance, and my allies do as well, which is why it benefits, to summon a Drakthir Bombardment. Look at that. And the way this works is, since it works based off your Mass Disintegrate. Oh, you can keep bombardment up so long, dude. Look at this. But you see, now me and my allies would be hopefully triggering a ton of bombardments, and you get the cool effects of the Drakthir swooping by. That's kind of how it looks, alright? And as far as it plays, it just gives you a mark that you basically keep up, because I think that's the best way to do it versus more Essence Bursts. But you can kind of keep the mark going if I wasn't playing that. But yeah, you keep the mark up by doing a Mass Disintegrate, which you get a Mass Disintegrate by using an empowered spell. So say this fall off, I would use that to get it back up. And now me and my allies are now bombing them with that. And then I use all the bombardments to get me more Deep Breaths. Alright? As you can see. Alright? That is Scale Commander Devastation. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? I don't know. But that's how it looks. And one thing I would say is I wish the Drakthir bombing would look a little bit more pronounced. And I like the aesthetic changes that some of these hero specs do. So maybe make Scale Commanders a little bigger or something. Give us like a cosmetic effect that when you're a Scale Commander, you look different. You know? Honestly, I can't think of something off the top of my head other than being larger. But there you go. So, what is the other hero spec for Devastation? Alright, it's called Flame Shaper. So, Flame Shapers are closely attuned to Alexstrasza and specialize in protecting allies' rejuvenation and renewal. They also have a unique ability to spread and intensify manipulating dragon fire. So, let's read through it. This is the only hero talent for Evoker that adds a new spell, and it's called Engulf. Engulf. Your target in Dragonfire and Dragon Flame, damaging them or healing them for each of your periodic effects on the target. Effectiveness is increased by 50%. Alright? So you see it's talking about periodic effects. So this spec plays with your dots and your hots. Alright? If you're preservation. But we're going to focus on the dot aspect here. Okay? Trailblazer, and then we got a choice node already over here. So we got Trailblazer. Hover and deep breath travel 40% faster, and hover travels 40% further. So this makes your hover really go. Alright? And deep breath as well really goes. If you're having trouble aiming it and timing it, this thing, I'll show it off when we get there. Or Shape the Flame. Tail Swipe and Ring Buffet. Scorch enemies and blind them with ash, causing the next attack within 4 seconds to miss. You're never using this. Maybe for PvP. Alright? Then we got Traveling Flame. Engulf increases the duration of flame breath or fire breath by 8 seconds and causes it to spread to a target within 25 yards. Alright? So Engulf increases the duration of fire breath, but we're going to see something else here going on. Enkindle. Essence abilities are enhanced with flame, dealing 20% of healing or damage as fire over 8 seconds. Okay, so this gives you an extra dot or hot. Alright. Conduit of Flame. Critical strike chance against targets above 50% health increased by 10%. Alright. More reverse execute. More crit when the target's high, and we lose 10% crit when it gets low health. If this was affected by Giant Slayer, or like Dragon Rage, that would be nicer. But that kind of Burning Adrenaline. Engulf quickens your pulse, reducing the cast time of your next spell by 30%. Stacks up to 2 charges. Alright. So it makes that give you a quicker spell. Alright. If you like casting. Like I said, we're going to be using our fireballs a lot. Alright, then we got another choice node here. Fan the Flames. Casting Engulf reignites all active Enkindles, increasing their remaining damage and healing over time by 100%. Or Expanded Lungs. Fire Breath's damage over time effect is increased by 20%. Green Breath's heal over time effect is increased by 20%. Alright, well, I'm going to try it with this. But yeah, that just makes your Fire Breath and Dream Breath do more over time. But this allows you to keep them going. So we're going to give that a shot here. And we got Living Flame and Azure Strike. Critical strikes have 100% increased chance to trigger Essence Burst. Okay, so that's going to help early on. And again, as you can see, this is making you do more Living Flames versus Scale Commander for Devastation, where it focuses on you doing more Disintegrates and Deep Breaths. Alright. And we got Red Hot. Engulfing gains 1 additional charge and deals 20% increased damage and healing. And we got a choice node here. This is a healing choice node. It's pretty easy. So we got Renewing Blaze also applies to your target or one nearby injured ally, so it makes your 1 heal apply to an extra ally, which may be good for a healer or the one you'll probably pick. Your wounds have a small chance to cauterize, healing you for 30% of the damage taken. Occurs more often from attacks that deal high damage. So that's just good healing across the board. And then our capstone, Engulf consumes 4 seconds of fire breath from the target, detonating it and damaging all nearby targets equal to 30% of the amount consumed, reduced beyond 5 targets. So, as you can see, now at the end, you're soaking some of that damage over time to do more damage. So how does this look? Well, Flame Shaper does not look good at all, in my opinion. Alright, so here, let's get some dots. You see we're getting some dots up. See, all my blue abilities apply dots. All my red abilities apply a dot. So we get a blue, a red. We get that dot. Get that up. We're gonna get the flame breath. Here, I want to get them all. There we go. And then we hit engulf. And then it spreads it. Boom. Alright, see, it ain't even that bad. It ain't even that crazy. And engulf, you saw it doesn't even look that fancy. So, in my opinion, Flame Shaper needs some work. Flame Shaper should, one, make my breath bigger. Just in general. When I'm hitting Flame Breath, it should be like, boom. I don't care if it pulls more mobs. And engulf should look cooler. What was that? You saw that, right? What was that? You can barely see it. And then, honestly, Chrono Warden does something with Living Flame. This really doesn't do much, in my opinion. I mean, maybe it doesn't feel like it's making my spells look better than normal. You know? Maybe it did. I'm trying to think what this looked like. Here, let's switch back. See, it doesn't... Like, I don't feel like a Flame Shaper because the effects aren't. Here, and then we hit this. Yeah, see, it has the same effect. Why would I care about being how do I feel like a Flame Shaper when all my flame spells kind of look the same? Alright, well, there you go. So, now let's move over to Flame Shaper for Preservation. Remember what I said about dots? Well, it continues into Preservation. Alright, so, but now it's with hots. I do a little breath. Oh, focus on me. Focus on what I'm doing here. We do this. We get a little bit of the Chrono, so you get the green hots, you get the Chrono hots. See what I said about the quicker breath? Look at... Oh, I'm the wrong one. No, I'm not. It feels like I'm both. Hold on. Alright. But, so it would play more with the hots. So you hot yourself up, get your dream, get your that, get your enkindle, and then you'd hit the engulf, and your hots would do more. Again, it doesn't really change the effect. And I don't really feel like I'm fancy. You know, like, really. What looks different? Here, I'm gonna cast this on myself. Look at that. What? It did nothing. No effect. Alright. And this should look green. Engulf for... Well, no, it does say you are Alex Straza. There you go. What if Flame Shaper for this one... See, look, that was on me. It did nothing. Alright. And then see, here's what spells it works with for healing. So let's look at the different spells. It's all Engulf, Renew and Blaze, Dream Breath, Living Flame still. You're going to be hitting your Living Flame more as a healer. Flame Breath, Dream Breath. Same thing with Hover. Yeah, and see here, look at how quick the Hover is. So you really move. Alright? With those spells. Alright? And here. Again. Here, let's heal that. Look at that effect. Eh. Eh. It's giving me the Scale Commander breath. That's funny. Okay, but see... Okay, so look at the breath on a Flame Shaper. Look at this. Zoom! Alright, clearly. Why do I got... You can't even be skill commander. I found a bug. Alright. So that's Flame Shaper. Like I said, it's more HOTS. If you want to be a breath build, Flame Shaper is where it's at. I just wish the effects look cooler. But yeah, if you want to be a breath build, Flame Shaper is where it's at. It gives your living flames more heals. It gives you this big heal you can do. Another big AoE heal in Gulf. It's actually a pretty good big AoE heal. Alright. But you'd also want to run some of the bronze, you know, for a couple extra bronze HOTS. Alright, but let's talk about Chrono Warden. After we talk about preservation tier, I need to fix. Hopefully for the other class looks, I'll get this sorted out. So, what is preservation got here? Reversion and Emerald Blossom here, an injured ally within 30 yards for 10% of any amount healed. Alright. So that's pretty cool. You know, it buffs both Blossom Build and Reversion. Verdant Embrace increases the healing of your next Reversion by 200%. So, you're back doing the swoop and their big rejuve, or reversion. See, I'm using druid terminology. This does make me feel like a druid, but here... Oh, do we... Oh, preservation doesn't have it. There's a cool new Evoker talent in Og, but we'll get to it when I get there. Alright, so let's look at Chrono Warden preservation, okay? Because if you like the Blossom build, Flame Shaper may be for you, but what Chrono Warden's got is a lot. Chrono Wardens can manipulate time, giving them glimpses of the future to speed their attacks, or recalling echoes to revisit past actions. Specialization in bronze magic can cause instability due to the many future possibilities they can see. Alright, so one of the big things that you get when you're Chrono Warden is Chrono Flame. Living Flame is enhanced with bronze magic. Okay, we're actually getting some cool looks here. You'll see. Repeating 15% of the damage or healing you dealt to the target in the last 5 seconds as Arcane. Right? Arcane healing. Hover now causes you to briefly warp out of existence and appear at your destination. Hover's cooldown is also reduced by 5 seconds. Hover continues to allow Evoker spells to be cast while moving. It's pretty cool. We'll take a look at it. And we got Temporal Burst. Tip the scales. So, this talent tree relies on Tip the Scales. Most Evokers already pick Tip the Scales, but you're playing Tip the Scales with this. Tip the Scales overloads you with temporal energy, increasing your haste, movement speed, and cooldown recovery rates by 1%, wrapping up to 40% over 40 seconds. Right? Reverberation. Spirit Bloom heals for an additional 30% over 8 seconds. So, for preservation, real quick, Chrono Warden has you do a lot of empowered spells. Okay? We'll talk about that in a second. So, let's talk Choice Note. Temporality. Warp reduces damage taken by 20%, starting high and reducing over 30 seconds. Again, it makes your hover a defensive, we saw in the other talent tree, or motes of acceleration. Warp leaves a trail of motes of acceleration. Allies who come in contact with a mote gain 20% increased movement speed for 30 seconds. So this makes your hover, now warp, speed up your allies. So it does kind of play well with Og if you want to buff, and it does give preservation some extra ways to help out allies. Threads of Fate. Casting an empowered spell during temporal burst causes a nearby ally to gain a Thread of Fate for 10 seconds, granting them a chance to echo their damage or healing spells, dealing 50% of the amount again. So this gives preservation some ally buffs right here. Here you go. You're buffing allies with Threads of Fate. Alright? And you got Primacy. For each healing over time effect from Spirit Bloom, gain 3% haste up to 9 seconds. Again, it's pushing you to use Spirit Bloom. Alright? To use your empowered spell. Alright, we got another choice note here. Double time. When Dream Breath or Fire Breath critically strike, the duration is extended by 2 seconds up to a maximum of 12 seconds. Alright. Time Convergence. Non-defensive abilities with a 45-second or longer cooldown grant 5% intellect for 15 seconds. Essence spells extend the duration by 1 second. So non-defensive abilities with 45-second or longer cooldown. So, for preservation, that's a lot. We got Dream Flight, Deep Breath. I guess Zephyr would trigger it. Tip the Scales would trigger it. Rewind. Time Dilation. Oppressing War? Does that trigger it? Yes, it does! Alright. Time Spiral. Does that trigger it? That does! Interesting. That's pretty neat. Alright, and then as you saw there, I dropped some motes. Okay, but let's get back to it. I actually had to test that. So, that is definitely a really good pick there. Alright, and we got another choice note. Master of Destiny. Casting Essence spell extend all your active threads by 1 second. Alright, that could help Og keep buffs rolling. Or, we got Instability Matrix. Each time you cast an empowered spell, Unstable Time Magic reduces its cooldown by up to 6 seconds. So, it gives you a 1 to 6 second empowered spell reduction. Cooldown reduction. Every time. Interesting. That one may be a little better. These are harder to decide. I just like this one. And we got Golden Opportunity. Casting Echo has a 20% chance to cause your next Echo to be 100% more effective. And we got After Image. Empowered spells send up to 3 Chrono Flames to your target. Alright. So, first off, here, let's look at Chrono Flame. Chrono Flame looks cool. As you can see, it looks normal fiery, but ooh, what was that? Normal fiery, boom. And then it's got the time magic. And then you're gonna notice... Okay, so here, let's get this buff extended. Oh, that's so good. Does that trigger it? That doesn't. Is that? No. This didn't. Alright. That didn't. There we go. Still doing the Scale Commander one. That's so funny to me. Alright. Boom. Empowered spell. Sent out those Chrono Bolts. Alright. But that was from the Tip the Scales. So, as you can see, I'm trying to get cooldowns reduced here. Alright. More Chrono Bolts. And we want to do a Spirit Bloom. Remember, trying to get all the empowered spells out. Get that. That. We got Echoes. Yeah, as you can see, I'm just getting more empowered spells out to get more Chrono Bolts. Here's the hover. Bloop. Bloop. Doesn't really change much, honestly. Oh, look at all these little motes. Alright. Nothing changed about that. And then, yeah, we're just waiting on Tip the Scales. Because that's our main big boy there. Gives us the juice. Alright, no, there we go. We shot some more Chrono Bolts. But yeah, it's basically, you get Chrono Bolts, and then you get more empowered spells. Alright, and then that rolls over with the ally buffs I was talking about. And then the fancy hover, where you can speed up your allies. And then that carries over to Og. More buffs. Oh, I'm Scale Commander. Hold on, let's switch over to Og. Well, let's look at the tier set. So for Og, it's really simple. If Evil deals 30% increased damage and increases its damage increases the damage of your next 2 eruption casts by 30%. Ebonite increases primary stats by an additional 0.4% of your own every 2 seconds. It remains active up to 2%. You see, very minor stuff. Now, let's continue about Chrono Warden. So, for Chrono Warden, it gives Upheaval all the buffs that Spirit Bloom got, as well as, like I said, all the extenders, and again, pushes you to use more empowered spells. Each of these hero talents kind of benefit a certain spell type from what I'm seeing of a class. Or at least for Evoker. Chrono Warden is empowered spells. Flame Shaper is breaths. Scale Commander is... Flame Shaper is the 1 breaths. Scale Commander is the deep breaths. Alright? The breath of eons. But let's talk about Chrono Warden for Og. Again, it's going to give you more buffs. Like I said, it also can allow you to get that increase to int, which would then allow you to extend it to allies. And this is the spec that gives your presence a 20% chance to cause your next prescience to last 100% longer. So this is the one that's going to give you the longer prescience for your allies. Alright, we're still casting Upheaval. We're not actually doing Chrono Bolts as much as, say, a Preservation would. You know, we're still going to be casting Eruptions. Alright. But, when you get the procs, you definitely want to be hitting those Chrono Bolts. Alright. Now, I think with the buffs and the prescience, Chrono Warden may be the spec Ogs use in raids. But Scale Commander is competing. Did you see all those freaking Chrono Bolts I shot out? But let's take a look at Scale Commander for Og. Because I think Scale Commander is super good for Og. Alright, I'm going to show you why. It sucks that you can't really see the effects of the mass disintegrate and the mass eruptions. But so for Og, what Scale Commander does is it gives you mass eruption versus mass disintegrate. It buffs Breath of Eons. And... excuse me. And all of your spells are Black Dragon spells. So Og will actually have some damage in this spec. But as you can see, it's not doing the mass eruption, even though it is. As you can see, it's hitting more. And then Scale Commander gives this effect where you can control your breath here. So imagine my allies are a little scattered. Or the enemies are, I can just do a little swivel and get all the little stragglers. And again, I'm shooting the mass eruption after my big spell. So I'd use a flame breath, mass eruption. Boom. And then we get the mark. And then my allies, now being buffed, would start hitting that. And hopefully I keep that extended. So this basically, if I'm playing it right... Oh, this is the minimize effect, by the way, for hero talents. It's pretty cool. So basically with Og, I for sure want to play this with extended battle. And basically, you know, start up my opener, get that flame breath, get the mass eruption ready, hit that mark, and then just keep hitting it. Allies are hitting it. We got mass bombardments. I got dragons flying everywhere. Come on, where are my dragons at? Why am I not getting the dragon? There's a dragon. Boom. Boom. And then that would be amplified by all my allies beside me. And that's basically it for Evoker, you know? To me, Scale Commander seems the most fleshed out. Flame Shaper, I wish they would do a lot more aesthetic stuff with it. Chrono Warden seems cool. I like it. It gives you the cool hover. I would like to see more Sands of Time. If I was a Chrono Warden, well, we see with mages, when I get there, this Sun Fury literally gives you orbs. If I'm a Chrono Warden, why don't I have sand around me or something like that? If I'm a Scale Commander, why am I not bigger, or at least more distinguished or in some way? You know, if I'm a Flame Shaper and I'm blessed by Alexstrasza, maybe I get some of the green effects or flame effects, or like the bigger breaths like I was talking about. So hopefully they work on that. But yeah, that's basically it. That's basically it. Hopefully y'all like that. I actually tried two different versions of this. So let me know how this goes, how you like this, my looks at this. Again, I'm focused on this aesthetics. I don't know what's going to be good. We don't know what's going to be good. I'm going to be picking based on what feels good to me for most of my tunes. For my Raider, I am going to pick the best one. But I don't know. If it's close, I may pick the one that I like the vibe more from. But we'll have to see. For Og, it's going to be really interesting in my opinion. But thank you for watching as always, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye.